Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another interview with one of our local Cincinnati people here, local leaders. My name is Britton. I work for Archer Daniels Midland, also named ADM. It's the second largest agricultural company here, located in Erlanger, Kentucky, which is just about 10 minutes south of Cincinnati for those that are not from here. But today we are interviewing someone within the food scene from Cincinnati. And I'd like to introduce Kevin, who owns Dada Smokes in Covington, Kentucky. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How about yourself today?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for joining us for this interview today. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions and we'll go from there. So just give us a little introduction about you. How long have you been in Cincinnati? Are you from here in Cincinnati?
Yeah. So, great questions. So, as you mentioned, I am the owner of Dada Smokes Barbecue and Catering. So we do a food truck. We have a food truck as well as we do a lot of local catering. We don't actually have a brick and mortar restaurant. We do a lot of kind of on location work. So, I was born and raised here. I've been here all my life. Never left. Went to college here. High school, went to Roger Bacon High School. Worked for quite a bit in the IT space. Started out way back as a programmer, then kind of managed a couple IT teams, did some project management, and then kind of started to transition over into food. Just because it was a passion of mine. I've always been one of those that enjoyed cooking for his family, and it just began to kind of expand out from there.
That's awesome. So obviously Cincinnati is close to your heart. So that's an interesting transition, though, going from IT to food.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm really big on family, and so I've always felt that food brings the family together. So, it was one of those things that kind of started out as the holidays. You have people coming over, and you're cooking food, and then it started to morph into people didn't just come over for the holidays; they were coming over for the food, and then it started to be friends and neighbors and just really bringing us all together at times. Sometimes even when have things can go with families and friends when you guys aren't getting along very well or something of that nature. A lot of times food will kind of bring you guys back together and help you kind of kick off those conversations that you need to build and mend relationships. So to me, food has always just kind of been a catalyst to keeping those relationships in place.
So obviously nowadays we're a little bit further apart from each other because of the whole COVID situation. So how has your company been able to handle the COVID situation, considering you have the food truck, but there's just a lot of people staying within their homes? How have you guys been able to fare?
So we kind of just pivoted and adjusted a little bit. So because to your point, we're not really doing the food truck yet. We haven't even brought it out yet, to be honest with you, just because it's kind of hard for what I do anyway, what I like to say I do anyway. It's kind of hard for us to kind of just show up somewhere and hope that we sell food, because our food takes a long time to cook. So we want to make sure that anytime we show up with our food, that it's the best possible quality. So what we did was we kind of just shifted to allowing families to order online and do like what we call a Sunday meal service per se. So a lot of people, try to do a special meal on Sundays. So you can kind of order throughout the week on our website. We have a kind of what we call a rotate menu, basically, where we rotate our menu items in and out. And you can order as little as enough for one dinner, or you can order enough to last you a couple of days throughout the week. A lot of our customers are, working families and things like that. So we get a lot of people that will say, hey, let me get a couple pounds of this, a couple pounds of that, and a tray of this and a tray of that, and they at least know they have some food to get them throughout the week and help them feed their own families. Or the vice versa. Some people are just like, hey, it's Sunday, we want to have a nice special meal. Let's just get a pound of this, a pound of that, and now they have a nice Dada Smokes meal every Sunday. So we just kind of shift and pivoted a little bit into maybe you can't come to us, but we can come to you, and we can do that for you every week. So.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the Dada Smokes itself. So where did the name come from? What kind of food are you guys serving?
Sure. So The name came from my kids. So like I said, we do barbecue and we smoke a lot of meat. And so back when the kids were little and I was practicing trying to get this thing down really well, I have three daughters. And so when my daughters were younger, it would be like, oh, Dad is out smoking, and then it would be Dada smoking, and then it just turned into, we were
Dada
just gonna
Smokes.
call it Dada Smokes because that's what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
And we're small. We're just small family ran, friends that helps us out. So we're all about family and friends here. So everything that we do basically uh, is usually me and myself, well, me, my wife, and our friends kind of just coming together and putting the best food together possible.
Awesome. So did the recipes come from you, or are they some family recipes, or?
They're mixtures. So some of them are, my own recipes. Some of them are recipes from my wife. Some of them are me trying to imitate a dish from my parents, kind of thing. And you know how parents are. Sometimes when you ask them for a recipe, they're like, I don't really remember. It's a little of this and a little of that.
Yep.
So it was more of me trying to get to that consistent spot of, well, I used this amount last time and it seemed like it was pretty good. And so it's just kind of a mixture of everything coming together.
Well, that's awesome. So if you could pick a favorite from your own menu, what would it be?
Uh, my favorite, see, this is a tough one. So
I knew it would be.
I would probably say my personal favorite is probably still my ribs. Even though the fan favorite, honestly, is either the brisket or the macaroni and cheese. I was always a rib guy. The ribs were the first thing I actually learned how to make and consistently make. So I'm always I'm always kind of clamoring for ribs. So I kind of like my ribs the way that I make them anyway.
Well, I will definitely be ready to try those because I love ribs and I love brisket and definitely love mac and cheese. So, so let's talk about where you see your food truck and your organization going. So if you had a 5-year plan minus COVID,
Right.
just push that aside, what would be your aspirations for 5 years from now for your business?
I would say my hope and goal over the next years and within 5 years to be mentioned kind of in the top tier when you talk about barbecue in this region, and to really be participating in all the larger events that take place in Cincinnati. We're still a young company. We're on year number 5, just about, and so. Ironically, this was going to be our year to step up to a lot of those bigger events that we
Ironically.
normally shied away from. But like everyone else, they just didn't happen for us this year. So what I'm hoping over the next few years is that you really start to see us at the big events throughout the city with our food truck, as well as Northern Kentucky, and just really be known for the best barbecue around, to be honest with you.
I love that. So, what are the typical events that you are doing currently? Because I know there's multiple ones that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You can do Taste of Cincinnati. I know that in Northern Kentucky at the Carnegie they have the feast, some kind of a feast or something that happens at the Carnegie every January.
I'm actually not familiar with the one at the Carnegie, but a lot of
Oh,
what
it's
I do
the
right.
Art of Food is what it's called. The Art of
Okay,
Food.
yeah, I've heard of it. I have not participated in it yet, though. A lot of the events that I do right now are I'll do a ton of church festivals over in Northern Kentucky. We do we do a lot of kind of outdoor concert sort of things. So like there's most of the events I've been doing the last few years has just been in Northern Kentucky. That's kind of been my focus of building my audience here. So we've been doing church festivals. We've been doing kind of outdoor um, concerts like at AJ Jolly Park over in Alexandria, a couple of events over in Fort Thomas with some of their holiday uh, events and festivals that they have going on. So we've kind of focused there. This year we were moving into more of the Taste of Cincinnati, more of the Cincy brouhahas and things like that is what we were going for. But unfortunately, we all know those couldn't happen this year.
Right.
which is fine. It's one of those that we all have to roll with and understand, and just be thankful for our health. Even though we couldn't meet all our goals that we wanted to, let's be thankful for our health and know that there is a tomorrow out there, and we'll just come back bigger and stronger next year.
Absolutely. So I'm going to pivot just a little bit. So I know that getting a license to be a food truck in Kentucky is actually rather difficult.
Hmm.
Um, so I commend you for being able to do that, because there's not a lot of food trucks here in Cincinnati that actually will go and get their license in Kentucky, because they just say it's very difficult. So
Hmm.
it's really awesome that you've been able to do that in the local region. So if you're speaking to a student who is actually looking to move into a culinary space as a career path, what kind of advice would you have for them in terms of either going brick and mortar restaurant versus food truck, or what great advice
Hmm.
could you give them in either direction?
Well, I would say when you're thinking about food, make sure you love it. The thing about food is, you come across a lot of people that are doing it because of the dollars and cents, right? Um, and over time, they don't last because they didn't have enough consistency in their product. They didn't care enough about what they were doing. So just make sure you love it first and foremost. That way, you're putting out a really great product. And when you start to think about a brick and mortar versus a food truck, just understand the drawbacks that comes with each. A brick and mortar, there's always rent and electric and water bills, always. So you can't get past those things, right? And you need employees and all those great things. I prefer the food truck just because it's a little bit more intimate. And of course, there's less overhead, but it's a little bit more intimate between me and my customers from a standpoint when you usually won't see the truck out without me there. And it gives me the opportunity to talk to each one of my customers and then, see if they enjoyed the food. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing better than feeding someone and seeing them walk away and then them come back 30 minutes later to tell you, hey man, this food was really delicious. Even though they've just paid me for it, there's nothing better than that compliment of hearing them say how much they enjoyed my food. So that's what I enjoy. I enjoy just kind of being out amongst the people and just being able to talk and fellowship with folks.
Love that. Love that. So in that same sense of being in a food truck and going out and distributing food, what does a typical day look like for you when you are able to go and serve the community?
So it's usually when I'm going out, my day actually starts the day before. So it's kind of a full progression. So if I know I'm going out in my food truck, I'm starting the night before with getting my food ready. So I may start cooking around 11 o'clock at night with my briskets or my pork butts because all of those are 10, 12-hour jobs. So we get our food on the night before. We get us a little nap in, I would say. Then we rise and shine before the sun comes out to start getting our sides ready, making sure we're doing all our prep work so that as we get on the truck, it's kind of a quick serve at that point in time. That or we can finish on the truck. So our truck actually has a smoker on it. So when we're going out, we usually will kind of have our sides all prepped and put together, and then we can finish our cooking on the smoker. So you can get those nice fresh. Smoked macaronis and smoked beans, and our briskets and porks are usually done just because it takes us 10, 12 hours. But we're trying to be as fresh as possible and give you a true experience versus what you may get at some of the bigger chains.
Amazing. So you're from here in Cincinnati. You went to Roger
Hmm.
Bacon, which Roger Bacon, for those who don't know, is really in the heart of Cincinnati. So
Hmm.
for you, I'm going to pivot off of the business a little bit, and I want you
Hmm.
to talk a little bit about what you love. What's one of your favorite things about Cincinnati? What do you love about Cincinnati or the region itself? Like, what is exciting? What would if you weren't here, what would bring you here?
Sure, sure. Uh, for me, what's always kind of kept me here has been the people. To be honest with you, it may not be as a diverse group as I would like at times from the standpoint, but for the most part, you get a group of people where everyone's trying to get along to some degree from a standpoint of of being helpful and being supportive and being cordial. I mean, the thing that kept me here has been family and friends, and those relationships that I've fostered over the years. And even as I meet new people, of how I'll say how easy it is to meet new people here. You know, a lot of times you go somewhere else and people are kind of standoffish, and it's not so easy to make friends. I feel like it's really easy to make friends here, and build those sort of relationships. Like I said, Roger Bacon was in the heart of the city, so we had we had a pretty somewhat diverse mix back in my day. That was quite a bit ago, so it wasn't as diverse as it is now. But at the same time, there was people from all over the city, so it wasn't just one area. We had people from all over, and for the most part, we all got along. And some of those people I even still keep in touch with. So um, it's just been a great experience.
So I do want to pivot back to your restaurant just for a
Hmm.
second. So I know that there's a couple of other companies that are doing food truck only. You've got like
Hmm.
Texas Joe. Um, there's and the other one is going off my brain right now. What makes Dada Smokes stand out from those other food trucks?
I think. Uh, to me, what I always feel is great about food trucks and even just barbecue in general is the food can be so different, but still be good from each location. It's you may go to Texas Joe and you're like, man, the food's just great and wonderful, and then hopefully you come to my truck and like, man, this is great. It's it gives you food trucks gives you such a diverse mixture of foods where everything is still top quality, and I can't say, if there's one major thing that makes my truck stand out better than everyone else's, other than just the food. And that's not to say my food's better than everyone else's, but I think everyone really produces really great food that allows us each to have our own individuality.
I love that. I love that. So I've got one last question for you.
Hmm.
Or first, before I ask that, I'd love for if you want to do a plug for your website, your socials, go right ahead.
Sure, sure. So you can always find us on social media at Dada Smokes, whether that's Facebook or Instagram. Just Dada Smokes, DADA Smokes is our username, and then same thing with our website, dadasmokes.com. We have like I said, we have a weekly rotating menu out there every week, and depending on when you hear this, we'll actually be out this Sunday for Father's Day, celebrating for dads, where we're actually going to buy dad a beer with your order. With one order, we'll buy every dad a beer. Your first beer is on me. Really, it's on my wife because she's gonna come out and help. So, but we're trying to help celebrate dads, hoping to bring people together. And just this has been a weird, crazy time. So hopefully we can get people together, come out, have a beer, talk, get to know each other, and kind of get over this hump, that we've been trying to get through over the last couple of months, and hopefully move on to a better place.
And like you said, food brings everybody together. It
Hmm.
really does. I mean, I used to be a professional ballet dancer, and I, didn't eat a lot back then, but ever since I've stopped,
Right.
I eat. I will find restaurants and everything that I can and just eat, and I'll go with my friends. So I get
Right.
it. And so, yeah, absolutely. If you are hearing this interview and you're able to actually go out this weekend, please do
Hmm.
support Dada Smokes. But I am going to ask you one more question,
Hmm.
non-food related, basically just Cincinnati related. If you could take your wife out on a date night, what would be your ideal date in Cincinnati?
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, ideal date. So, knowing me and my wife, we always like a little bit of music in our life, and I'm more of a jazz fan. So I'll usually try to find somewhere where we can listen to just a little bit of jazz and get a cocktail, if we can. And then we're both kind of foodies, so we love to go out and eat, and we love to be adventurous. So uh, I think there's very few restaurants that we've been to more than twice, just because we're always trying to pick something new place to go to. So it's usually going to start with some music and cocktails, finish with a nice dinner somewhere, and then what I like to call just a little scenic drive. We usually, uh, we've both moved over to northern Kentucky, but we're Cincinnati natives, so we always kind of just go through a drive through the neighborhoods, see how things have changed, and just reminisce on all our time together.
That's wonderful. I love hearing that. There definitely are so many like places that you can go for scenic
Hmm.
drives in Cincinnati, whether it be on the river or, up in Mount Adams or even across the
Hmm.
river in northern Kentucky. There's hiking trails and everything that you can just enjoy Cincinnati. And that's actually Victoria Morgan. She mentioned that exact same thing. She's like, during the quarantine, I've been walking my dog everywhere, and I have just found even more beauty in Cincinnati than I even
Hmm.
knew was there. So I love
Right.
hearing that from you. So thank you again so much for doing this interview. Obviously, I believe on your socials, you'll probably post where you guys are going to be in the community when you guys are out
Yes.
with your food
Hmm.
truck. So definitely give them a follow, Facebook, Instagram, so you can get all that great barbecue. We love barbecue. I don't know a single person that doesn't love barbecue. So I will for sure be heading out to get myself some Dada Smokes. But again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, no problem. I really appreciate your time today, and you guys have a great week.
Thank you.